Okay, so good morning, everyone. We're really excited to be here at Manahek Ski Club this morning. I don't know if you can see me. I'm hoping you can see me now. So we're here at Manahek Ski Club this morning, and we have a few residents here to speak on Carnival of years gone by and how it correlates with our Carnival present. Maybe there's some events that we did back then that are here now as well, and some excitements that were back then that maybe we don't do now that maybe we can incorporate in years to come. But we were having some pretty good conversations this morning about the carnivals of the years gone by, and there's some pretty good stories. So I'm hoping that we can capture some of those stories to share with our community. So I see Todd, you're really excitedly holding the very first piece of carnival items that we had of years gone by. Maybe maybe you can tell us a little bit about that to start the day.
Well, in carnivals gone by, when they had these canes, I mean, we used to fill them up, of course, with beverages,
I understand.
and that was quite fun. You carry that to whatever event you went to, depending on the event. But it was always fun to have this cane and full of your favorite beverage.
So they were a part of, like, Bonhomme was our mascot at that time, correct?
Bonhomme was our mascot at that time for a few carnivals. And I think I'm just going to say that back in them days, I think times certainly changed, because you got a job to get people out today in comparison to what we could one time. Because I mean, if you look back in some of the old Auroras, there one year in particular was 3 carnival dances going on the same night, with live bands playing, like Legion, Union Center, and Ashwanabe, I believe, all at the same night, right? I mean, you got a job to get people out now to one event and one night, so it's hard to compete. But I think times have changed, and I think, Peter, I think you'll certainly agree. Is I know a lot of people would like to see the old carnivals and some of the things that you said, but I don't know if you'd be able to do that these days. I don't think so, but there's certainly some fun things that took place back then, and maybe we can incorporate today. And I brought along some old clippings from the Auroras from back as far as '77, and there was a lot of fun things. I mean, the cane being one of them, and more fun for some of us than others. But
And everybody had a cane.
everybody had a cane, and we used to have the big horns too. I think one time, hey, I don't know what they were called, trumpets, the big trumpets. So if there was any event at the arena, you took your trumpet there, and
Wow, I don't remember the trumpets.
yeah.
You're a little older than me. Maybe
No.
that's why. I don't remember that
So
part.
thanks for pointing that out. But anyway, I don't know. That's
Okay.
I'm,
All right.
I'm sure something else will come up that'll spur my memory, and
Awesome.
I'm sure Peter got lots of memories.
So, in my carnival group now, we have a whole different age group of people in our group and on my committee. I have 20 people on my committee, and the age range is 22 to up there, we'll say. So, it's nice to have that range because we incorporate some different events also. So, I'm going to let Devin take it over now and ask a question to Mrs. Stamp. How's that?
So I just have some quick questions there this morning, just to get a better understanding of what Carnival was like when you guys grew up, rather than when I grew up. So I was just gonna ask, what was your favorite Carnival event when you grew up?
Mostly cross-country skiing, which I still love today. But the excitement and so many people out, and the weather was absolutely fantastic at that time. It's still very good today, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the outdoors.
So do you see any similarities in some of the outdoor events today in the Carnival than back in?
Yes, really. I mean, it was today. It's a big event. Cross-country skiing really is absolutely wonderful. And I don't do as much now. I guess I fell too often when I did ski. But the excitement of it's there, and that's my best sport, really, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a great sport.
So, Devin, we have a little something here I'll show everybody at home. Winter Carnival 1986, Woman of the Year, Joan Stamp. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that was a surprise to me, but I guess they figured I was qualified for it, and they just said, fine, that's for you. You won it. So I said, okay, I'll take it.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, congratulations. So, what was a little bit of the? How did you qualify for such a great prize like Woman of the Year for Winter Carnival?
Well, I'm involved in mostly all the organizations here since I came. And let me see now, I came here in 63. So I've enjoyed all the entertainment along with the different things that I'm involved in, even up today. You know, that's I feel I owe the town something, and that's the only way I join, help as much as I can. So that's my life today.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we'll go on now. Thank you for those words. It's quite nice to get the stories and definitely nice to hear about the Woman of the Year for 1986. That's awesome. So I'll go on now. So what was kind of your best memories of Carnival back in the day?
Mine? I came up here in 1972, and the thing that really impressed me was that there was great competition between all the schools. And Carnival time, the competition was building the best float. I taught at NDA and LCC, and both places we were very involved in the float building part. NDA, I remember Gilles Lestage he was the art teacher, so he was kind of the one who was spearheaded to this, but there was a whole bunch of them. And I remember we used to get the flatbed over from, I think it was Ryan's. Richard and B.A. Ryan used to bring over the flatbed about a week ahead of time. And I mean, it takes a month or so to get everything ready. And then, you know, it'd be a mad scramble to try to get the float on the flatbed and get everything ready for the carnival. It was just a fun time, and it involved. We had a big staff though at the time.
Back then there was flowers.
Oh yeah,
The tissue flowers. That
tissues
were made.
and I mean
That's right.
we built structures and
right.
the whole thing. And when I went to LCC, Labrador City Collegiate, it was the same thing. I remember Cal Taylor was probably the driving force there. We did a number of competitions, a number of floats. We won a few times, both at NDA and at LCC. It was just a great fun time to be involved, and I was really impressed with the involvement of all the schools. Of course, the staffs at those times were huge. I mean, Notre Dame Academy had probably 60 on staff. LCC was probably the same thing, you know, 60 teachers. So it was just part of the camaraderie and competition between the different schools. I mean, AP Low would do it. Fun. Oh, here we are.
And that's the parades.
That's some of the floats. Yeah.
We used to have so many floats. And
Yeah.
But all the floats were all, like I said, everything was made for them within that week, I'm guessing.
You could tell a lot
Yeah.
of work went into it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, when it was just a great time.
So it was a pride in your community.
Yeah, spirit was wonderful at the time, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think there's an event right now that would correspond or go with kind of similar to any of these events today or back in the day?
I mean, I see a great deal of spirit in especially in the parade, and I mean even in those back When I was there, we'd have individuals put in floats, and I mean, you still see them today. If somebody will decorate their pickup or something like that, and away they go. Yeah, the spirit is still there in the community.
Yeah, Labrador City is definitely a unique place where you can get all that spirit up in one event.
Yeah.
In specific, I did an event. I did the parade this year, and it felt like it was the whole community comes together and gathers, and the spirit's very high, and that one's just before Christmas. Another question I just had really quick was, do you still actively participate in the Winter Carnival, and what kind of events would you do now?
Excuse me.
It's a good question. I don't participate as much. I love going out seeing the parade, and being part of that. I'm more now. I'm more just enjoying the spirit of the times and that, But it's no, I don't participate as much as I used to. I spearhead a few things, and right now I work on the gospel afternoon, which has turned out to be a great. Just a great afternoon involving all the churches in the area and individuals and youngsters, and we usually not fill the church, but I mean there's 200 to 300 people come out for an afternoon of gospel singing. So can I put a little plug in there?
Sure.
March 22nd, 1:30.
All right. So I want to just say a couple of things that have changed now listening through. I know this morning we spoke, Mrs. Stamp and I, that the first carnival was in 1961. And I thought that was really quick to everybody just moving here, correct? Like we talked about that, how the first one was in 1961. It was only a couple of days, you said. And was that organized by the IOC, or do you think? I'm not even sure.
Oh, yes. See, my husband was in 55. We left St. John's, where he worked at Pepperell. And Pepperell closed in the 50s. So he needed a job the same as everybody else. So he came up 2 years before I came. And he worked for IOC. Well, that was the only employment at that time, was IOC, but it sure has grown since then,
So they've done everything. They did everything that in those younger years to
yes.
promote community spirit.
Oh, definitely so, because even this chalet here, IOC has helped quite a lot back in those days,
So now our carnival is not just Labrador City, it's actually Labrador City and Wabush, and we combine. And I work with Tony Williams from the Recreation Department in Wabush, and we have a great time putting together these events and actually going and visiting everybody at the events. We have quite a few senior meals, and I'm going to put this over to Mr. Record to maybe discuss some of the senior meals, even that I know the Lions Club is running a meal. And I also will go back to your conversation later about the parade. This year we're resurrecting the parade, so we're going to need some help from the community to do that. So it was one of the highlights, so we definitely want to do that. So I'll pass this along to Mr. Record to discuss as he's mulling over the old Aurora papers. There you go, Mr. Record.
One of the things I looked at was a number of the buttons were always part of Winter Carnival, and the buttons were instructive to tell you a little bit about what the carnival was going to be about, because I always looked at carnivals as how we celebrated ourselves, and in that celebration it set up a tradition that lots of other people followed in what makes us different, what makes us distinctive. And it starts a little bit with snow. We have snow, and we also have it a lot of the times of the year, but always in Winter Carnival. So I just dropped out a few buttons that I had there, and I noticed that the themes were sort of consistent, like one, family participation, and then we had another one that says I'm a winner, and in 1987 it said hear ye, carnival for fun for everyone. And then in 95 was fun is alive in 95. And this year it says celebrating as one, something for everyone. So that tells me that this is how we celebrate ourselves and use our winter distinctiveness, if you will, to do that. what that has led to in tradition is that it has made us very, very good right from the beginning. I did some work with pioneers over the years, and we always had a great affinity to host well in Labrador West. And I think some of it came from the fact we knew how to have fun with each other. And so therefore when we hosted things like in the building we're in now, there's been some tremendous activities happen here around the whole snow supports. I remember, carnivals where, as a member of the Lions Club, I remember helping run the carnival parade in Wabush and losing reindeer in the snow and finding out when you got back half of it was out over the bridge. But it's about community coming together, and of course there have been changes, because when you talk about, as Todd did early on, with the Bonham canes and that, I didn't bring mine because I'm aging what's in it for a few years' time. But the way Todd went to 3 dances at the night was because of what was in the cane, but he was also very, very young, and now he's a little less young.
Thank you for that, Mr. Record. And you spoke a little bit about the infrastructure here, specifically in the Nordic Ski Lodge. And I guess one of my questions is, all the new things that are coming to town and new businesses such as Takora and IOC is doing some expansion. It's bringing new companies in. What do you think that brings? Do you think it brings more of a community feel, that more people will be involved, new families, new younger families? Do you think that will bring the community spirit up a lot more?
I think the ebbs and flows of the economy certainly have an effect on how iron ore prices do, has very much an effect on people coming here, and people come for the employment, but that's not why they stay. They stay because of some of the things we have here. One of the things I remember when we first got into parades that ran at night, which was in 2002, one of the things we were looking at, and it really was instructive to see what judges were looking for. And one of the things they were looking for was, what is the connection in community between local government and what makes the community unique? And all of the recreation and various sports, and what's the connection with the schools and education. And we were judged on that. We were judged very much on what is going on between those who have the responsibility to oversee the community and what their connection are with people. And I think one of the things, I traveled a lot in government circles when I was with council, and one of the things you always found when you were outside of here was up there in Lab City and in Lab West, you have certain things and you are remote. But we love coming here, especially for things you host. And I found that went right across the board, whether it was skiing or curling or drama festivals or hockey tournaments. There's been always a tremendous spirit in the community. And the only thing that's changed a little bit is that we now have a demographic community, whereas when Mrs. Stamp was talking about it, we had a very young community. Now we have scenarios where we have 3rd and 4th generations here, plus new people coming. So now we have a mixture of young and mature, and that brings a different spin on some of the kind of things you're going to do.
That's a good point there, that there's a new generation, a younger generation here. What kind of advice could you give to myself as being the younger generation, or younger than me, to keep Carnival going and come up with new events and stuff? What kind of advice could you give to the younger generation to keep the Winter Carnival going in Labrador City in the future?
That's an interesting question. I was watching a little program there on Sunday night, whatever, those adventure ones, and I saw where a bunch of young people went in on the transmission line and built their own leaps and jumps and all the rest of it. And some of the things I saw skidoos do kind of scared me, and I used to use skidoos too, but they were running like, 20 feet up and 70 feet long, and every once in a while someone would wipe out, I think intentionally. So what that tells me is that with a new generation here and some changes in what we do, because the evolution of people and time and circumstance and machinery changes what we do. But I think where the meld is between those who will do, as Frank said, what we do at whatever age we are, and the new generation coming along will find new things to do, and our job is to help support it and help bring it along and encourage it and laugh at it sometimes, and sometimes say, oh boy, I don't think I would have tried that. But when you look back, and when I think about when Todd was going to those dances, he would have tried anything then. It's just that it's a different time now.
That brings me to Todd. What was your favorite memory of Winter Carnival? Back in your day, and what is your favorite Winter Carnival event now?
Well, I'd have to say the parade and some of the other, like the carnival dance, especially the closing dance. Carnival, that was always a big item. Um, and of course the parade was. And back then, I mean, when the parade was going by, I mean, you were an hour watching that parade go by, right? Um, I will say this: I think businesses need to be more involved. I think because back then every business in town had a carnival princess,
Carnival Princess, yep.
and they'd have a big piece in the full page or something in the paper, introducing their princess and stuff like that.
And we have some of those Carnival Princesses still living here.
Yes. Oh,
Kay
yes.
Hicks was one of the
Yeah.
Carnival Princesses one year. I remember that.
So I think those will probably be the biggest events. And for me, I mean, I like in recent years I've transferred all 8mm film over to VHS or then and now DVD. And a lot of them films were old parades, And geez, it was reel after reel after reel. And at the end of the day, there'd be an hour or more video of that one parade. You know, stand, waiting for that to go by. And back in those days, like if you look at them pictures, I mean, the Canadian Airlines, some had the crowd working over there had a big jet sitting on the. Geez, was almost be full size. I mean, a huge jet, whatever they made it out of, and that'd be on a float, So there was a lot of time and energy went into it. I find these days, like I said, times have changed. So, and I find sometimes it's hard to get a lot of people out to some of the events, and there may be a lot of things contributing to that, like 12-hour shifts. By the time you're finished a 12-hour shift, and you get something to eat and wash something that and it's time to go to bed to get ready for the next 12-hour shift. So back in those days was 3 shifts, mornings or days, afternoons, and nights. So if you were working 8 hours, when you got off after 8 hours, you still had lots of time to do whatever you wanted to do, and that could involve getting out to some of the events for Carnival or being involved in working on something. But so some of those things have changed. A lot of people, cottage country now, cottages are a big thing. So a lot of people go to their cottages. Me, I go to my garage sometimes when we do a bit of music. But so I think times have changed, and to me, looking forward, I think we need to, and I guess we've always had. We need to build on what, I mean, our raw materials here are snow and winter. I mean, and I think this community, in years gone by, lots of times we wanted to do something. Like Lab West always had a reputation for getting it done, no matter what. You may go to government or somebody to get it, and if you couldn't get it, they just went ahead and they did it, and they seem to always get it done here, and more often than not, they got it done on their own, So, and I don't know if them days it's still, I guess that's still there to some degree. Like I said, times have changed, so, and now there's a lot about work and stuff. But I think looking ahead, for me, I think we need to do something different, something that we haven't done before, something big. Like I don't know, and I don't know what that is. I suppose it's something you could have a long talk about, but something unique, different, big, something that haven't been seen anywhere else, or I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds like the world's biggest snow sculpture. I mean, we could do that here. We've moved. I mean, they've moved mountains here, right? They've moved mountains. I mean, literally. So that sort of thing. Like I don't know. And so,
Well,
but
Todd,
just anyway.
I'll take this from you for a moment to say to you, you're on. We're going to have the world's largest snow sculpture, and I think that's a great idea. I love it.
Like something that you can. People are like, wow, did you see what they did in Labrador City? Like in Quebec City, they build a nice hotel.
Yep.
They build it every year.
So something unique to our community.
Yeah, like
right?
I mean, we got lots of ice and snow. So, I mean, in terms of material, we got it. But that's a big like to do something like that, even the world's largest snow skull. That's a big undertaking, and you need a lot of people dedicated to do that, right? And but I think if it was I think if that idea was sold, and especially to the younger crowd, because I'm not climbing on the ice sculpture unless there's an ambulance handy. So but
that's a
you know, those are that's just one little thing.
I really like those ideas, and that's what we want. Is we want to keep the carnival going. It has such a presence in our communities. We have a lot of cold days. The winter carnival is a time for everybody to get out, to meet each other, to greet each other, to share a meal together, to share an activity together. So these are the things that we want to continue, because we want to make sure that the longevity of winter carnival is there. So talking about all this with you guys and getting that feedback of years gone by and what we need to do in the future and how it was all tied in and how important it was back then, I think that shows the importance of it now as well. And so Devin, here's back to you. You've experienced Winter Carnival a little different probably than everyone else. What were your highlights of Winter Carnival?
Just before I give my highlights, I just wanted to point at the top is 53 feet is the world record for ice sculpture. So I think we could do 60 feet next year, no problem.
What I'm saying is it can be done.
It can be done, absolutely, absolutely.
We haven't done it yet.
Some of my favorite Winter Carnival moments. I've been doing it ever since my mom was in the job, and maybe even before participating. So. It's been a quite a unique experience for me, and going to all the events with my mom and being really engaged in the community has been a huge thing for me. It's given me lots of interest in the Winter Carnival and gave me a lot of community spirit. Now I've been away for 5 years, the past 5 years, and before that I was the teen ambassador in the Winter Carnival my graduation year. The most unique experience for me is just going to all the events and really talking to people, just understanding the stories. I love stuff like this. I love getting different aspects and inputs on different Winter Carnival events. It's really nice to hear the old stories that I would have never known. So it's really, really cool to hear the history of the town where I was born in and raised. So it's really unique for me to be back here again and participate in the Winter Carnival again this year. I think it brings a great community feel, and it just brings everyone together, and it's really nice.
Awesome. So, any last words about Winter Carnival and the importance that you feel there is, or stories, or yep. Mrs. Stamp, any last words?
Keep up the good work. And you will enjoy it. We here and have a carnival every year. Of course, I enjoyed it, and I really recommend that we work a little harder and keep up the good work. Okay.
Thank you. And
It's just thinking that everybody can do something. You know, it doesn't matter, young or old, you can do something in carnival. Like, you don't have to be fully engaged, but there's always something you can do, and it'll just bring the spirit of the town way up.
And that's our hope. Something for everyone. Yeah. Yep, Mr. Record.
Well, since we're going to spend all our time in the future, you always look where are the green shoots. It always helps to know where you're going when you see where you've been, and we know what made Carnival great. If you look at the right now, what we're seeing is that we know food, and especially good food, brings people out. And there's a whole bunch of it now. There's people look at the carnival 10 days now and look at where the food is, and they go to all of it. I think it's partly about the food, but I think it's also about the comradeship and the socializing and so on. So we know that's a strong point. If you look at the carnivals past, where there was a fair amount of centering around the parade, and we have a young person now who wants to make parade go this time. What I can say on that is that what we... No, it's talking about young persons. The Lions Club had experience with Santa Claus parades in the daylight and also now in lighted ones. And what we found was this: when we started that again with the illuminated parades in 2002, we started it with probably 10 or 12 floats. And now we're between 25 and 30. Here's an interesting change. Something I heard Frank say earlier is that when the town was in an expansion mode and the mining companies in expansion mode, it meant that the large floats were usually pretty well occupied. And you would get a parade maybe on a Saturday if those floats weren't doing something. I found in recent years more and more, I think this year there were 8 or 9 large floats, those 40, 50 footers, which gives you the kind of pictures you saw there. You can do all sorts of things. And where you're doing it at night, you don't have to make bags and bags of those tissue roses. You do it with lights, right? And so lights give you a chance to do all kinds of themes, but the availability of certain things makes the difference to what you can do. And now I notice that's building again. So this year, if we can get a number of those, if people gather around big events, whether it's an ice sculpture or a carnival parade, you will see green shoots all the time. And every year, you're fine-tuning every year. Now, I look at the magazines or the programs from the last few years, and every year you look at things and you do a fair amount of debriefing at the end. So, okay, what worked well? What might work next? What's the next big idea? So you always look into the future, and you find out from what went well in the past how you need to fine-tune that. And that's going on all the time. You have a solid committee working on that now with new ideas, and don't be afraid to try new ideas. And if the worst comes to the worst and your ice sculpture falls down, well, we'll put Todd with a parachute, and he'll be okay.
And Todd, let's see. Hold on. Now let's get our. So Todd, this is your last touch to tell me what it is. The last thought about Carnival, and you know what? We're definitely going to do that sculpture. That's a definite happening. So tell us something else.
I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you not telling us there was going to be a camera here.
I had to get you here somehow.
No, I just think we need to let's look. I mean, what's being done is great and it's still good, and there is still a lot of spirit. But I'm all about doing something different. Something big, something different, something unique, something we can hang our hat on and say we did that. We were the ones that did it.
Love it.
We can do it, right? And I think we'll look at that, and maybe we'll gather up a team and we'll have some more discussion on that.
Building back there is Chills Loop.
Oh, go ahead. Very good.
Chills Loop brings together a number of things. There's lighting at night, it's skating, it's a place to go. And I think, there's some space there to do other things. So maybe Chills Loop plus something in that same area that has room might also be an attraction for large numbers of people.
Chills Loop is now it is an ice rink that's made by our employees. I guess maybe I'll get you to talk a little bit about, just a little tiny bit about how big it is and how much effort goes into making that.
That Chills Loop, when we first started, when you wanted that about how long, 3 or 4 years ago maybe now, and has evolved a bit, and employees really got into it, a few in particular, and there's a lot of effort goes in it. That's very takes up a lot of time. Takes up takes a lot of man-woman hours, we'll say, and but it's now that it went from just a loop to a little rink in the middle. We got a heated shack there now. There's a sliding hill. Now there's another big snow circle there for bonfires and fires, campfires, and it's lit up now. They got trees all around. They collect all the Christmas trees from around town. They got this whole a lot of work's gone into that. That's an example of something new and exciting, because people love it, especially now the weather's getting good. They're coming out for that. So yeah, I think that loop is. You've done a nice job with that. That's one of the things that worked really well.
place there's potential for expansion, and I walk it most days, is the Tanya Lake Trail now, with the lake being used so much for, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a winter. There's a lot of noise there and a lot of skidoos going fast. But that has space and some infrastructure developed. That's the place where you can look at another big idea.
Do you think we can put our sculpture in the middle of Tanya? I'll leave that for your thoughts.
For a big outfit like that, you're gonna need some equipment out there, so consider that. Oh,
We'll just put you on our committee to give us a hand with that. So I want to thank you so much, because it's been so nice to listen to your stories and to know that, you know, Carnival was an important thing in years gone by, and it still is a very important thing now. I know I've had 20 people for the last 10 years just about helping me with Carnival, and I am so thankful for them, because without them and their ideas, nothing happens. So we have that community base here that really does thrive on seeing our community have a really joyous end of winter season, because that's pretty much where we get to with Carnival. So thank you so much, and thank you for bringing some of your items to show us. And we look forward to seeing you out at some of the events. I think Mrs. Stamp will see you at Bingo for sure, right? And I know there's a few meals there that I might see a few other people at. So, and we're going to see all those young people out too, because we try and have something for everyone. But we're always open to new ideas, and we hope that, you know, we'll get some of those new ideas when people see this video as well, and that they'll come forward with them, because we're open to doing anything to making Carnival the best ever yet.